From living with monkeys to being raised by guard dogs and wolves, I'm Bob from World 5 List, and join me as I reveal 10 people who actually grew up being raised by animals. Number 10. The Girl Who Barks. Now, who hasn't pretended to be a dog when they were a child? But for Oksana Malaya, this was her reality for over 5 years. Now, unlike a whole lot of fantasy stories, she wasn't lost in the woods and raised by dogs. Rather, her parents abandoned her when she was just 3 years old. Even worse, they left her in a kennel of dogs and forced her to survive there without any help. Fast forward 5 years and someone finally noticed that there was a young girl literally living with a kennel of dogs. When they tried to communicate with her though, she didn't understand them. Instead, she talked in barks, walked on all fours, and even moved in non-standard ways like dogs do. Malaya was taken from the kennel and then was taught how to be human again, but the damage had already been done. She's about 30 years old now and still has mental issues because of her time spent with the dogs and lives in an institution, but she's getting better every day. Number 9. Monkeying Around. Now a story that feels like a rather twisted version of the Jungle Book. A young girl by the name of Marina Chapman was just 5 years old when she would be kidnapped. The people who kidnapped her took her to the Colombian jungles to wait out for some reason, and many think they were going to try and get some ransom. Regardless of the intent, they eventually abandoned her there and left her to die. And after wandering through the jungle, met a pack of monkeys who actually took her in and taught her how to survive. Through the monkeys' assistance, Marina was able to survive in the forest for about 5 years. Unfortunately, though, her next contact with humans wouldn't be as pure as Oksana's, for some hunters found her, kidnapped her, and then threw her into a brothel. Thankfully, Marina was able to escape and got to live in the human world for real until she became a slave for the mafia. Seriously, I'm not making this up. She then escaped again, became a nanny, and lives in England with her husband. Funnily enough, though, she did write an autobiography about her journey, and many publishers refused because they thought it was fake. Only after some doctor's tests and other factors was it deemed to be true. So as it turns out, truth really is stranger than fiction. Number 8. Ostrich Manor. But first, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell because you don't want to miss out on more awesome videos like this one. Sometimes you can't help but wonder why these animals actually cared for humans. Was it instinct, perhaps desire, or even a good heart? The tale of Sidi Muhammad makes me wonder even more, because unlike the ladies of the first 2 entries, Sidi wasn't lost or kidnapped or anything like that. He merely wandered away from his family in North Africa and eventually came upon a nest of ostrich eggs as they were hatching. Now, usually it would lead to the parents to see the child and scare him away, but they didn't. In fact, they befriended him and raised him as one of their own, including teaching him how to run fast, get food, and a whole lot of other things. Sidi lived happily with the ostriches for some time, and then when he was about 12, would be found by some ostrich riders. I'm not kidding. He was then taken back to his village where he later lived a very normal human life. Number 7. Jungle Girl. Here's a story that actually doesn't have a really happy ending. A young 8-year-old girl in Cambodia was tending to her family's buffalo herd when she suddenly vanished. There was no sign, no demand of ransom, no anything. She was just simply gone. Then fast forward to 2017, 18 years after she disappeared, and a man noticed a naked woman trying to steal rice from his house. After getting a good look at the naked woman, he noticed a scar, one that was exactly like the one that the young girl had had. She would now be 30 years old and somehow survived in the Cambodian jungle for all of those years. After getting her, he tried to reintegrate her into society, but because of her long years in the jungle, she couldn't speak the language. And when the stress of everything became too much, she then fled back into the wilderness. Because of the mystery of everything, it's unclear exactly how she survived for 18 years, but many believe that she's received help and guidance from the animals, which is why she no longer spoke her native language. Number 6. Don't goat that child. A young boy would be taken by his mother and thrown into a goat pen and then locked in. Definitely not Mother of the Year, right? Anyway, like a lot of these children, the child adapted to his environment and learned to play with the goats, sleep with the herd, and do everything else they do. In June of 2012, social workers were called to the house where they found him with the goats. The mother was long since gone, and the social workers then took the child to a doctor who tried not only to nurse him back to health, but to put him back into human life. Though he did survive with the goats, the toll of the experience was significant. He would end up malnourished, weighing a third of his weight, and he was also extremely afraid of people. Although, given what happened with his mother, how could you really blame him? Number 5. Cats save a toddler. Now, if this story doesn't end up warming your heart, something's wrong with you. In Argentina, police were walking through an area when they discovered a 1-year-old child on the ground. It was alive, but even more surprising, was surrounded by cats. Curious, the police officers then approached the child, and when the cats saw it, they instantly surrounded the child and hissed at the officers in a sign of aggression. After some investigation, the police then found that the cats had actually kept the toddler alive during the Argentinian winter. They would lick the child to keep him warm, as well as lay on him so their fur could protect him. As if that wasn't enough to make you smile, the cats were also smart enough to bring him scraps of food so that he could eat and stay healthy. As for how it got there, the child was homeless, like its father, and the two had become separated. This is how it ended up with the cats, but it's unknown what happened to the child after, although it does seem as though the father would be found and the child was given back. Number 4. The Dog Boy. Now, exactly how sad is it when your animal family is more of a family than your human one? But that's exactly the question I asked when I heard the story of a young boy from Chile. Born to an underage mother, the boy was then abandoned by her and went into the system. Eventually, he ran away and soon found a true family in the form of a pack of dogs near a cave where he originally lived. The dogs took him in, and not only did they care for him, they also taught him to be one of the pack. They even all hunted for food together. Eventually, he would be captured by police, where he acted more dog than human. And though he did remember some Spanish, he used every ounce of energy he could to try and get back to his dog family. Number 3. The Monkey Boy. Here's an interesting twist on the tale of being raised by animals. A young boy from Uganda lived a good life, but then when he was 4 years old, witnessed something truly terrible. He saw his father kill his mother. Fearing for his life, he then fled into the nearby jungle, where he was eventually found by a pack of vervet monkeys, who then took him in and helped him survive. In 1991, a group of hunters would find the boy and try and bring him back into the human world. Not only did he resist the attempt, but his monkey family actually attacked the hunters, throwing sticks and rocks and trying to stop them. However, the boy would be taken back and slowly taught how to be human once again. These days, he can speak his native language again and can even sing, which makes for not too bad of a happy ending. Number 2. The Wolf Child. There is an ancient Roman myth about Remus and Romulus and how they were both raised by wolves, but in Moscow, Russia, it's actually true. A young boy would be brought into a police station in 2007 and was confirmed to have been living with a wolf pack. Not only did he not speak the language, he was very wolf-like in his mannerisms and how he acted around people. After being brought in, he was then cleaned up, given a shower, had his nails trimmed, and was put into a room until they could figure out what to do. About a day later, though, he escaped and hasn't been seen since. So I guess the idea of being away from the pack was just too much for the boy. Number 1. The 38-year-old jungle woman. Now, arguably, one of the most fantastic stories of all time is one of a woman who survived in the jungle for over 30 years. Her story begins in India, where she went missing at the age of 4. Then fast forward to 2012, and she would be found alive, living in a cemetery not too far from where she went missing originally. At the time that she was found, she was 42 years old, and she was very much alive. Ironically, not only did she survive, but she's easily the most human of all people that you've heard about on my list. She can speak her native language, isn't afraid of others, and is open to learning more. Oh, and she hasn't ran back into the jungle where she lived for nearly 4 decades. Although it is unclear how she actually survived, animal intervention seems to be the leading cause. Again, she was 4 years old when she went in, and as smart as children can be, I don't think she did it all on her own. Thanks for watching. Do you really think that people can be raised by animals? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on World 5.